We begin tonight with a couple public hearings, but we will start with the, we probably should do roll call, and then we'll do pledge, and then we'll get into the first hearing. So, Madam Clerk, if you would do the roll call, please.
Sure. Peter Talbot.
Here.
Jim Jinks. Dina Allard.
Here.
Patricia Kramer. Fiona Pearson. Don Walsh. Greg Wolf. David Veliber. And John Milone. Everyone's present.
Thank you. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we begin tonight with actually a joint Town Council Water Pollution Control Authority public hearing. This is for the proposed fiscal year 24-25 annual capital expenditure budget. Madam Clerk, would you read the legal notice, please?
Pursuant to sections 7-2, 7-3, and 7-4 of the Charter of the Town of Cheshire, Connecticut, the Cheshire Town Council and the Water Pollution Control Authority will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 11th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in Town Council Chambers, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire. Electors and other persons qualified to vote in Cheshire will be given an opportunity to comment on the following proposed appropriations for the capital expenditure budget of the town for the 2024 to 2025 fiscal year and the issuance of bonds, notes, and temporary notes to finance certain appropriations within said budget. Dated at Cheshire, Connecticut, the 17th day of May, 2024.
And of course, Madam Clerk, you are going to read all 57, I assume?
Yes, yeah.
I will turn it over to our town manager, Sean Kimball, now for the presentation on the hearing subject.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will read all 57 projects instead. But I will try to summarize. So again, just by way of information for the public, we have presented back in March a 5-year capital plan, the first year of which is the only year that is officially appropriated and approved for spending. Years 2 through 5 are guides for future years and future years of planning. And in a perfect world, those projects move up each year as we advance in subsequent capital budget years. The hearing tonight is on the 57 projects that were proposed back on March 10th as part of the town manager's recommended budget. From an overall calendar standpoint, the way the town of Cheshire's charter reads, the capital budget must be adopted no later than November 15th. So in many ways, we're much earlier in the game. But we've traditionally adopted it in late summer, not the least of which is because we have any projects that are over 500,000 that have to go to referendum have to be approved 60 days before the November referendum date. And so traditionally, the council takes these projects up in the summer. I have presented these projects at March 10th, which is earlier than the deadline, which is July 15th. But it allows us to take up both capital projects and operating expenditures at the same time because in so many ways those play off of each other. And the council's already had a couple of workshops. We have another workshop planned this Thursday, June 13th, where we'll be covering public works projects. We also have we have a meeting scheduled for the 17th and a few others tentatively scheduled with possible adoption of the capital plan at the July council meeting. All of that, of course, subject to change as deliberations continue. But I will just sort of go through these projects quickly. Again, these are just the first year appropriations. In some cases, they're partial project appropriations for design for maybe a larger project in subsequent years. But the first projects in administration and finance, we have the Technology Reserve Fund of $250,000, Town and School Security Project Fund of $110,000, Vehicle Equipment Replacement, $507,000, that's across all departments, boiler replacement at the police station for $50,000 for design, various town building improvements, $310,000, roof replacement at the police station, $25,000, salt shed at Public Works Garage, $700,000, improvements to the Harmon Leonard Jr. Youth Center, $35,000, and the Town Hall office space reconfiguration plan of $80,000. We have West Main Street Canal dredging, $150,000. Prisoner cell renovations, originally proposed at $400,000. Again, that's a subject of ongoing conversations. Public Works dump truck and plow, $380,000. Public Works excavator, $252,000. The road improvement program, $2 million. That's the annual milling and paving of our, and sometimes chip sealing of our roads network. Sidewalk maintenance program of $100,000. Sidewalk extension program of $100,000. Jarvis and Marion sidewalk extensions, $300,000. Storm water drain disconnects, MS4, and sediment disposal, $110,000. Road reconstruction of East Johnson Avenue, the second section, phase 2, of $1.6 million. Paving and parking lots and access drives for Bartland Park, $385,000. Lakeview culvert improvements, $340,000. The intersection realignment of Weeks Road, $35,000 for design. Road reconstruction Industrial Avenue, supplemental appropriation of $435,000. Public Works grounds equipment of $130,000. Elmwood pump station upgrade, $200,000. Denitrification upgrade, $500,000. In-kind treatment plant and pump station equipment replacement, $300,000. SCADA notification system upgrade for our water pollution plant, $250,000. Inflow and infiltration investigation and remediation for $400,000. HVAC upgrades at the water pollution control facility for $250,000, about halfway done. Water pollution control department dump truck, $230,000. Bartland Park skate park and concrete surface and new additional ramps, $110,000. Park and open space improvements, $100,000. Paving and of the pool parking lot, $155,000. Pool boiler replacement, $180,000. And then the remaining projects are all Board of Ed proposed projects. Athletic complex improvements for Cheshire High School, $500,000. Roof replacement for Dodd Middle School, $350,000. Roof replacement at Highland Elementary, $50,000 for design. Window replacements at Highland, $150,000. District lavatory improvements, $400,000. District driveway and parking lot repavement, $250,000. HVAC replacements at Dodd, $150,000. HVAC improvements for Cheshire High School, $25,000 for design. District replacement pneumatic controls, $100,000. Unit ventilator replacements, Cheshire High School, Dodd and Doolittle, $225,000. District elementary school playground equipment replacements for $200,000. Expanding parking and general paving at Highland, $350,000. District interior door replacements, $100,000. Fire alarm control system upgrades at Cheshire High School, $100,000. Maintenance garage at Cheshire High School, $250,000. Fire main and water main replacements at Dodd for $200,000. Utility tunnel renovations, Cheshire High School, $75,000. Auditorium replacement rooftop units, Cheshire High School, $50,000. District gymnasium equipment replacement, $150,000. District stormwater management improvements, $125,000. Main office cafeteria HVAC improvements at Highland for $50,000. And finally, electrical upgrade and emergency generator, additional funding for Highland School, $200,000. So it's a grand total of $15,509,000 of proposed first-year capital projects. So that concludes a summary of all projects recommended for consideration, and I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball. With that, it's time to hear from the public. If members of the public would like to speak to the capital budget, please come over to the podium to your left, our right. State your name, your address, and try to self-time yourself for around 3 minutes or so would be appreciated.
Good evening, everybody. Steve Joseph, 40 Pound Ridge Road, Cheshire. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm calling or presenting today on behalf of the Cheshire pickleball community. I am the leader of the Team Reach group, which is an app for our Cheshire Park. There's currently about 850 members, and of course, there's a lot of people that play pickleball that are not members or do not have the Team Reach app. So I've been in contact with John Gorlak for quite some time about consideration of how do we address the proliferation of players of pickleball. I've been to a bunch of park and rec meetings, and just for background, I actually came right from the park today to come speak at Town Council. And At the time when I left, about 6:50, there were 36 players on the pickleball courts or waiting to get on the pickleball courts, another 8 players playing pickleball on the tennis courts, and there were 2 people playing tennis. And that's pretty indicative of what any day looks like when you go over to Cheshire Park. We currently have 9 tennis courts in town, 6 of which are lit over by the high school, 3 at Cheshire Park, and then we have 6 pickleball courts. I know John and I were talking about the possibility of converting one of the tennis courts over at Cheshire Park over to 2 pickleball courts. I am more than welcoming of that opportunity of conversion. I would like to, though, get into everybody's mind that I wonder if we've got a little bit of a Band-Aid on the situation, because pickleball as a whole is just growing astronomically across the country as we see a decline in tennis. And I do wonder if we're being a little penny-wise and pound-foolish by converting a court to 2 courts, and maybe we need to think also of a bigger opportunity. Do we convert all of Cheshire Park? Do we take 2 courts and make them 4? Do we do something on the south end? I don't know what that looks like, and I don't know what the town's finances will eventually allow for. And I welcome any conversion now to alleviate the overloaded burden on the Cheshire Park pickleball courts right now. But it's just something I'd like to think about as we go forward on how do we wisely spend our monies. I'd also like to just have under consideration for future consideration that some of the busiest times of day are after work until 9:30 at night. And right now we have light until 8:30, and so it's not really so challenging, but it's not unheard of in January to see people out there and the courts are full. So at some point, if we're going to do conversion of tennis courts to pickleball courts, I'd also like us to think about possible lighting upgrades. The last point that I'd like to make here is just simply that when you go over there, what's really cool about it is that I left the courts and there are 17-year-olds playing with 70-year-olds. It's truly become an inclusion sport of all comers, from new to old to people that have never played, being helped along by people that play regularly. It's just, it's great to see everybody coming together for this, but more specifically, it's great to see our high schoolers, our middle schoolers, and our college students having somewhere to go that's actually good for them. So with that, I will stop my clock, and hopefully I've been under 3 minutes. Thank you.
Just a quick question before you go. Do you have any sense as to the amount of players that are using the Cheshire Park courts that are actual Cheshire residents?
Yeah,
I
would probably, this is approximate estimation, I would probably think it's about 3/4 Cheshire and 1/4 not Cheshire. It is interesting, I've heard this comment from people that play in Wallingford, younger people like 20s, and they'll be playing in Wallingford at Harrison, and when it starts getting dark, they literally say, all right, time to go to Cheshire. So there's absolutely, folks from Southington coming, there's folks from Wallingford that are coming, Hamden, because they really don't have much of anything in Hamden. And the truth of the matter is, our courts are better than those at Southington, at Panthorn. They're better than Harrison. The tennis conversion's a little bit challenging the way Harrison and Panthorn are, because the court is really tight, so there's not a lot of room for movement in pickleball when you're playing. So anyway, the long answer, trying to shorten it, is it's probably 2/3, 1/3, 3/4, 1/4-ish. So,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
yeah, thank you.
My name is Sarah Norback. I live 383 Gunner Court here in town. I'm an avid pickleball player. I'm there every morning, occasionally in the evening. Steve did a heck of a job explaining it, and I don't want to be redundant, but he did a great job, and we are in need of more courts. So if anything can be done, it would be much appreciated by us, everybody else who's going to start playing, because it is growing quickly.
Thank you, appreciate it.
My name's Ray Stewart, excuse me, 826 Moss Lane. I'm talking about the capital budget and the greater vision of it, and that's our taxes. We've all recently read of, the proposed mill rates, and I have to be somewhat distressed when I see comments that there's the largest percentage decrease in the mill rate in the town's history. Well, that sounds wonderful, but taken out of context, look what it translates into your tax bill. And the capital budget is going to be driven, and it's going to drive the taxes even further. I don't know, we haven't received our actual tax bill yet, but I know just based on my calculation, my taxes are going up 12.5%. After my assessment went up 45%. There's not many people that can readily, especially when you're retired, can readily factor in a 12.5% increase in your taxes. And that's only going to get larger. I've lived in this town my whole life. My parents bought property in 1947, and our family has paid taxes into this town ever since then. And yet there doesn't seem to be any consideration for long-time residents. Thought comes to mind. Pension plans. There's a rule of 80. How about taxpayers? A rule of 100. The number of years you've lived in town plus your age. Does it reach 100? Maybe you should be able to freeze your taxes in that given year. Just a thought. But something has to be done to not make this town totally exclusionary to seniors. And when you get 12.5% tax increases, people start thinking, does this town want me? Lifelong residents, does this town want you to stay? Think about it. We're going into a process now, part of the capital budget is going to be periphery around the school, the schools. I personally don't think the construction of a elementary school on Jarvis Street is the right way to go. It's too big a property. Too big a property for an elementary school. It should be a middle school and convert the town to a true middle school format. Take all the 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders, every student in the town benefits from that. But we're not going to go that way. You know, we haven't put a shovel in the ground, so maybe it's a consideration. I don't know if that was actually ever considered. I'm sure the smart people on the committee, they probably did consider it. But I, for one, think it's a better option where all the students of the town would benefit, not just the ones that would go to the new school. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Good evening. My name is Natali DiNatali, 10 Copper Beach Drive. I'm here tonight to seek your approval of the proposed Park and Rec budget, which includes a relatively small one-time investment in a disc golf course, which would reside in the woods at Cheshire Park. Very briefly, disc golf would bring many benefits to our community. In fact, it promotes health and wellness. It's an outdoor activity that can be enjoyed by people of all ages. It's best described as hiking with a purpose. And I've had the pleasure of enjoying these disc golf hikes with my family many times since I've discovered disc golf. I'm hoping that we can bring that pleasure to the Cheshire community. Another benefit to the town for this small investment is it brings people to town to play at the course, which helps local businesses, restaurants. It also creates a positive impact on the environment. As I've discovered in enjoying disc golf that it creates a sense of environmental stewardship. People who are out there care about the environment. They care about being out in nature and with the environment. One of the best things about where I go to play is I get out there, I see the woodpeckers, I see the deer, I enjoy seeing the squirrels scurry about. It's really why I'm out there, to be one with nature in hiking. And also, with the Park and Rec Commission and John Golick's leadership, we've been deliberate in our process about doing this in the correct manner. We've been working with the Environmental Commission, importantly, to bring them into the process and ensure that we're doing this in the proper manner. And in fact, in recognition of the appreciation for the environment that we have, our proposed name for the course is the Honey Pot disc golf course, which is named after the brook that runs through the property. And this would sort of allow people to more thoroughly enjoy the access to that property in the back, being people through that area enjoy the Honey Pot Brook, which actually was the name of the first golf course in Cheshire. Back in the 1930s, Cheshire had a golf course which was named the Honey Pot Golf Course. That later became the Cheshire Golf Course, which now I think is condominiums, but we want to bring Honey Pot Golf in the form of disc golf back to Cheshire, and I hope you'll approve the budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Steve Sadler, 20-year resident of Cheshire and Castle Glen community. I'm here to talk about the Weeks Pond, or as some know it, the Honey Pot Pond in our neighborhood, and we share that property with and use with the Highland School and the surrounding community. First, like to ask to enter into a record a letter that was sent just in support of restoration of the pond and care of the pond to Don last year by some of my neighbors. I'm here with a couple of them here now. You take that, just a letter to enter into the, just for the record. I want to say the Castle Glen residents, there are 10 with 11 with our private owner in the community. We're all good, solid citizens. We're involved in the community of Cheshire in one way or the other. We pay our taxes. We don't ask much in return. We pave our own road. We maintain our own road. We provide electricity. We snowplow. We provide our own street lighting. Of the 11 homes, there's not one of us that has a child in the schools, and we get along with everyone. We do have the pond, which we share with the community and with the school. On any given night, tonight included, before I came over here, there's somebody on the bridge enjoying the beautiful pond, fishing. It's a great asset for the community, and I would hate to see it lost for a short-term gain. There's some talk, I understand, in the Public Works budget of either repairing or dismantling the dam, and whether or not the pond should be maintained going forward. I know that the development just up the street, the new development, that the silt and construction fence failed, and we received an inordinate amount of runoff and silt carry over into the pond. We've always had troubles, but it's gotten a lot worse. We'd like to see the pond saved. I asked my wife today to go through our bird books and just to make a list for me. There's too many to read, but we have great blue heron, we have a multitude of hawks, we have green heron, we have cormorants, we have right now two pair of Baltimore Orioles, right? I mean, there's too many to read them all off. It's a beautiful little area, and it would be a darn shame to see it go away. We really want to see the community continue to enjoy that pond and do everything possible to maintain it. It's a little forgive me, a little slice of Vermont right here in Cheshire. It's absolutely beautiful back there, and all enjoy it. In fact, also, I don't want to forget a couple of boats out there that the kids in the neighborhood, I don't know the kids, but for 2-3 years, they leave the boats there, they're unchained, and they come down and they go on the pond, and next thing you know, the kids are out on the pond. So the whole community is enjoying that. Please, let's save that pond if we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, James Shurigian, and again at 454 Castle Glen. I'd like to echo everything that Steve Sadler had said about the pond. It really is a great water feature, but in addition to all of that, I'd like to know what the town thinks about what the original function was, the actual stormwater runoff. And when you're looking at Route 10, there's quite a bit of hard paved surfaces that are impervious, and the detention pond really serves as a way of ensuring water quality. And one of the concerns I had, and I didn't necessarily hear it in the budget for 2024-25, but I believe, Don, you had indicated that there's proposals for 2026 and 27. The concern being just what Steve had mentioned, the dam specifically. We'd like to make sure that the town is addressing that dam. If they were to remove the dam, I think you'd be looking at a, technically what they call a dry pond, or a dry pond retention, as opposed to the wet pond, where you're really getting the vegetation that's going to filter the pollutants, both the particulate matter as well as the soluble pollutants that are in the water, the erosion that the wet pond allows for. The water volume slows down, it can settle, you can let Mother Nature in decomposition, the friendly bacteria do their work before it's ultimately discharged at that dam. So I'd really like the town to consider when they address the pond, what it means by the remediation holistically, specifically that dam piece is where I believe we have the most concern, and I'll let the rest of my friendly neighbors speak to that piece. So I'd definitely be looking to see in the budget proposal specifically that dam piece. And I didn't have any of this on my agenda, but to what the Mr. Stewart had mentioned regarding the tax base, West Hartford has a great program where seniors, they do actually cap them, and it keeps seniors in town, which is actually great. We all love towns with good school systems, and we have a cross-section of people who come to Cheshire to live here. Not everybody's looking for a great school system, but we love great schools, but at the same token, we do want to keep all members of our town. So I really like what he had to say, and I would hope the town would even consider some sort of a cap like other towns have, and it's really worked well for them. West Hartford is a great example. And I love the pickleball. Every time we're on Route 10, we see the slew of people at pickleball, and it is growing across America. They're converting empty malls into indoor pickleball, and it's just booming, the empty space. And we've got, let's face it, we're not just a mill town, but Connecticut is known for their mills. If we thought of converting some mills into indoor spaces for pickleball, I think that could be huge too. So I'll release my time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Len Iantoni. I live at 460 Castle Glen. And I just, concerning the pond, it is a really nice asset for the town. The wildlife is unbelievable there. In the spring, there's flocks of merganser geese that come in. This spring there was a flock of over a dozen mallard ducks. There's an osprey there. There's turtles. There's bass. I fish there. I fish there 2 or 3 days a week, and every time I go there, there are kids there fishing, and I've caught 5-pound bass out of there. And if that dam got taken down, we would have basically a cattail swamp there. And I hope we can preserve it, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Youngquist, 468 Castle Glen. I just wanted to make one point that I think the reason for our concern at Castle Glen was that we noticed a line item in the budget for a study for replacing or renovating or replacing the dam. And we'd like to argue against replacing, against removing the dam, and just argue for rehabilitating the dam. It has had some damage over the years, and it needs probably a fair amount of work to make it safe and longer lasting, but we would strongly urge the council to not consider removing the dam because it's such the pond that it creates is such a great asset to the entire community. So that was the reason for our concern, is that little mention in the budget item that the study was to include an evaluation of the removal of the dam as well as the cost of rehabilitating it. So I end my comments there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Before I close, to the gentleman from Castle Glen, just to, as Mr. Kimball mentioned, the town council will be approving a 5-year capital budget. The only money that's actually funded is year 1. Years 2 through 5 are there to keep things on the council's radar. There is planning money in year 2 to take a look at what to do with Weeks Pond, and then there is a placeholder of money in year 3, which would be for whatever the planning money determines is the best way to go with the pond. So we're a ways away from doing anything with it, but I hope to see you again at next year's capital budget hearing and the following year as well, when we start to get closer to allocating that money. But thank you all. Anyone else for the capital budget?
I think we have one electronically received comment, Mr. Chair.
Do you have that to read, or?
I have it. I put it in your packets.
Is it near the back? Thank you. This one was, as our Madam Clerk just told us, this was received electronically. Dear members of the council, I am writing to encourage the passage of the $150,000 budget line for dredging the canal near West Main Street to be funded by the town's capital and non-recurring expenditure fund. This project is vitally important to the further development of the ball and socket factory project. Currently, the canal is very overgrown with a thick layer of sludge in the basin. These conditions, especially from the West Main culvert southward to the train culvert over which people access the ball and socket complex from the linear trail, cause significant high water and flooding issues within and around our main factory building, Building 1. Because the basin is so filled with silt and vegetation, the water level has frequently risen above the storm water outflows and caused the drains in the parking lots to flow backwards and flood the lot. Similarly, the Building 1 roof drain overflows also go into the canal and have flowed backwards into the building, causing significant flooding inside the buildings. The ultimate goal for this canal is to make an attractive waterway that enhances the public's experience of the trail and neighborhood. This is a shared vision by the town, the state, and Ball and Socket Arts. We have plans to create a public walkway with seating along the side of the building down the east side of the canal. Unfortunately, in its present state, it is causing significant issues and hampering the cleanup and redevelopment of our property. As the canal is not owned by us, we are looking for assistance to address the issue within it. This funding is a key first step toward a very worthwhile endeavor, but also an urgent need for our project's continued momentum. Sincerely, Ilona Samoji, Executive Director, Ball and Socket Arts, Inc. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Sure.
just wanted to make a quick comment. Whenever taxes are brought up with seniors, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that the town offers some senior relief for taxes. Please look on the town hall website for senior relief, veteran relief, and relief for disabled citizens of Cheshire. It's important. We understand the burden that is put on Cheshire with taxes, and we just want to know that you can seek relief if you qualify. Thank you.
And the town does look at those, the town council does look at those programs on an annual basis. I did make a note concerning the West Hartford tax cap for seniors, and I'll take a look at that as well. So thank you for bringing that to our attention tonight. And with that, I will close this public hearing. Hit the gavel. The next public hearing is, the subject matter is the 2024 Neighborhood Assistance Act Program submissions. Madam Clerk, would you read the legal notice, please?
The Town Council of the Town of Cheshire will hold a public hearing at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 11th, 2024, in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider the submissions to the 2024 Neighborhood Assistance Act program. Electors and citizens will be heard at the public hearing concerning these submissions, dated at Cheshire, Connecticut, this 17th day of May, 2024.
For the presentation on the hearing subject, I will turn it over to our Assistant Town Manager, Ms. Talbot.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For those of you who have not gone through this before, the Neighborhood Assistance Act is an act by the state, program from the state of Connecticut. The towns merely administer the application process. The program is intended to provide an incentive to businesses to donate to these particular programs that have been accepted into the Neighborhood Assistance Act program. So a company who donates to these programs would get an additional 40 to 60% tax break for that donation. So there's no actual dollars involved. It's more of an incentive program. This year we have 2 applications. One is from the Hometown Foundation. They have a wonderful canine program where they train not only the canines, but the staff in the police departments, and they provide the equipment. Many departments can't afford to add that to their budget, and they provide the service. The town of Cheshire actually has a canine with the assistance of the Hometown Foundation, and they're looking for that program to be accepted. And the second is from Ball and Socket, who are looking for their program on energy conservation to be accepted into this program for their project, which I know you're all well aware of, down on West Main Street. And at this point, if the council approves these 2, they go to the state, and then the state will hopefully approve them. And then we notify the 2 individual businesses or organizations that they have been accepted, and they can then promote that with their donors. Any questions?
Thank you. With that, if any members of the public would like to speak on behalf of the 2024 Neighborhood Assistance Act program, please do so now. You can come up to the podium. Seeing none, I will close this public hearing. And with that, we will begin our Town Council regular meeting of June 11th. We have done the roll call, we have done the pledge, and we'll jump to public communications. I have 3 proclamations that I would like to read to begin our evening tonight. The first is a proclamation for Flag Day 2024. Whereas by Act of Congress of the United States dated August 3rd, 1949, June 14th of each year is designated National Flag Day, and whereas our flag is our nation's symbol of unity, freedom, and equal rights for all, and whereas the flying of our flag is a sign of patriotism and love for our country. Now therefore, I, Peter J. Talbot, Mayor and Chair of the Town Council, on behalf of the Town Council and all the citizens of Cheshire, by this proclamation, honor our flag and urge all citizens to proudly fly this symbol of our great nation every day and to pause and reflect on the blessings of liberty our flag represents. Dated at Cheshire, Connecticut, this 11th day of June, 2024. The second is a proclamation for Pride Month, June 2024. Whereas all people, regardless of age, gender identity, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical challenges, have the right to be treated on the basis of their intrinsic value as human beings. And whereas Pride Month was established to acknowledge our obligation to uphold the dignity of the people and dedicate ourselves to protecting the most vulnerable among us for a more just and equitable America. Now, therefore, I, Peter J. Talbot, Mayor and Chairman of the Town Council, on behalf of the Town Council and all the citizens of Cheshire, by this proclamation, recognize June as Pride Month in Cheshire. Dated at Cheshire, Connecticut, this 11th day of June, 2024. And last but certainly not least, a proclamation for Juneteenth, June 19th, 2024. Whereas on June 19th, 1865, more than 2 years after President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, enslaved Americans in Galveston, Texas, finally received word that they were free from bondage. As those who were formerly enslaved were recognized for the first time as citizens, Black Americans came to commemorate Juneteenth with celebrations across the country. And whereas Juneteenth was declared a federal holiday in 2021 and Connecticut state holiday in 2022. Now, therefore, I, Peter J. Talbot, Mayor and Chair of the Town Council, on behalf of the Town Council and all the citizens of Cheshire, by this proclamation, recognize the Juneteenth holiday as a celebration of freedom. Dated at Cheshire, Connecticut, this 11th day of June, 2024. And with that, I will open it up to public comments. Anyone who would like to address the council may do so by stepping to the podium, stating your name and address.
Well, good evening. My name is Joe Leogran. I live at 3 Lakeside Drive in Wolcott, Connecticut. Spent my whole life saving money to buy a lake house on Hitchcock Lake. I finally bought it. I love it. There's always some temporary things that occur. You know, the roof leaks, you fix it. The boiler breaks, you fix it. Those are all temporary things. However, there's a permanent thing that affects me, and it bothers me that there's some lights from a business called Hitchcock Motors. I'm a neighbor of Cheshire in Wolcott. I'm only across the street on Meriden Road. If you've never been by Hitchcock Motors, you're blinded by the lights as you drive by. Now, I'm affected by it because I got my bowl of popcorn, I'm watching the movies, and I look out the window and I see these 2 giant bright lights blaring me in the face. I tried to deal with this with the zoning officer. He said they were gonna lower the lights. I have seen no significant difference since January, February, March, April, May, and June. I sent photographs to the zoning officer. I sent photographs to Mr. Talbot. I think they're being circulated right now to you. I've read the zoning regulations, and all external illumination is not supposed to be seen off the property that it exists at. I'm over a mile away across Hitchcock Lake, and I could see the lights blaring me in the face every night. The only thing I can't see right now is those lights because the trees, the foliages have stopped the lights from permeating across the lake. It really bothers me that you have a zoning law that is supposed to control these lights. The lights are on the building at this business, and they face the street. If you drove by there tonight, you would be blinded by them, really. Now there's 3 of them. There used to be 2, now there's 3. And they say there's security lights. I have security lights in my house too. They go on for like about 10 seconds, and it used to say, you are now being recorded. My son says, the thing says you're now being reported. I said, no, that's being recorded. So I shut that off not to bother the people walking by, because the lights go on as people walk by. But the lights at Hitchcock Motors are on all night long. Once they're on, they're on. And I invite you to all drive by that place and be blinded by the lights. I hope that the zoning officer does speak to the business again, because nothing has been done. They have not lowered the lights. They have not reduced the illumination. Nothing that I see has been done. I hope you can read the town ordinance I gave everybody. It explains what has to happen, but right now the lights are so bright that it's unbearable to me. I can't watch my movies at night. I gotta lower the shades. So if you could help me, I'd appreciate it, even though I'm in a neighboring town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leo Grant. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? Seeing none, we'll continue with our regular meeting, starting with the approval of minutes. Item number 4, minutes of the April 29th, 2024 Town Council Budget Workshop, May 14th, 2024 Town Council Meeting, May 29th, 2024 Town Council Special Meeting. Who was the?
So moved.
Mr. Walsh, and second by Mr. Jenks. Thank you. Yes.
Abstain from the 29th. It's not at that.
Okay. So we will, let's take that one first then. And can I get the amended motion then, Mr. Walsh, to just approve the May 29th?
Was it May 29th? Okay.
Yep.
The May 29th, 2024 Town Council Special Meeting.
And the second, thank you. So with that being said, all in favor? And 1 opposed, so 8-0-1. Mr. Wolf abstained. And then, Mr. Walsh, if you would be so kind as to do April 29th, May 14th.
Motion to approve minutes for April 29th, 2024, and May 14th, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. And Mr. Jenks, thank you. And all in favor of those 2 meeting minutes? Motion passes unanimously by those present. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Wolf, for bringing that up. Which brings us to the consent calendar. Mr. Jenks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves resolution number 061124-1, consent calendar for June 11, 2024. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves the consent calendar for June 11, 2024 as follows. Items A through H.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jenks. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Consent calendar, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Brings us to items removed from consent calendar, which there are none, and old business. The Bartlam Park South update. Mr. Kimball, what's going on at Bartlam South?
All right, a lot of things going on. If you flip ahead to your town manager's report in the second attachment, actually the last page, I have the Bartlam Park South update as the first item. And there's a couple, or 4 added photos there taken just earlier today. Crews are currently working on grading the Great Lawn area, along with the tree plantings and lamppost installations. Just yesterday, June 10th, we finally received official approval from DEEP to relocate the pile of unsuitable soil to the closed landfill adjacent to the Public Works Garage. Final change order to relocate this pile comes to just under $7,900. Many thanks to our town engineer, Merritt Comment, and our Public Works Director, Dan Bombero, for identifying this solution, as our consultants from Weston Sampson were initially convinced that the only option was going to be transportation and disposal at an out-of-town facility for a total cost of over $100,000. So kudos to our staff for finding a great solution there and getting and receiving DEEP approval. Our staff working group, along with Peter, David, and John, met on May 24th to review and approve preliminary design plans from Polygon for the band shell. If you actually flip ahead, you'll see a little image there. Although where it says Bartlam Beats there in the sign is going to say Cheshire instead. But you'll see the shape and of the design. We all agreed it meets the design plan, the design intent, and Weston and Sampson subsequently notified Polygon, so now they're working on the final engineered plans, which are estimated to arrive July 17th, and then fabrication will take 10 to 12 weeks after. Precast bathroom building is nearing completion. Off-site, and delivery and installation is now tentatively scheduled for early July. And this past Friday, we received a quote for the addition of a cupola with a ram weather vane for the new bathroom building. We had been carrying a $15,000 placeholder for this item in our budget. We're pleased this will be we'll be moving forward with this feature. The total cost to install will be $13,363. So that concludes the Bartlam Park South update. You'll see a few photos there. On the bottom right, you'll see that pile being loaded today as it is finally taken off site. And then on the second page on the left there, you'll see the Great Lawn taking shape. If you have occasion to see it, or if you'd like to visit, feel free to. I'm there all the time, so feel free to give me a call. But it's great to see the Great Lawn really shaping up with the trees and lampposts. You can really visualize that huge public oval-shaped space that will be in front of our band shell. So it's really been great to see. And now that pile's off-site, they can complete the grading work and the installation of the irrigation. So all great news on Bartlam Park so far. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sean, I've had several questions from people asking about the refreshment stand that was turned over from the CYB to the town. And I know I talked to John Golick and Dan Bombero, and they're not really sure exactly, but is that going to be used as a storage facility? And is there a lot of work that has to be done to create it because I don't know if you have to put a door on there that goes up and down or what?
Yeah, we're still exploring a number of options. There have been some recent proposals to utilize it. I know Cheshire Youth Football and Lacrosse would like to use it for storage. I think the point of how the access would work is an important one without having to do substantial renovations to obviously to a pretty solid building that isn't easy to modify. A lot of the equipment I think inside has been taken away. Remember, it was turned over to the town with fry later still there, with grease still in it and everything. So one idea we're kicking around, again, depending on where we end up with budget, and as of right now, we're still about $200,000 under budget in the overall project. If we wanted to pursue potentially another sort of shed option or another storage building, potentially back over closer to the community pool area, that might be an option. We were just talking about a couple weeks ago. Public Works had some desire to potentially use that area as sort of a space for staff, particularly summer staff, to meet and congregate as opposed to checking in and checking in for the day all the way out at the Public Works Garage, saving them some time. Perhaps a combination of all of those could be worked out there in the building. So no definitive plans on what we're going to do with that at this time.
So because, I mean, there's probably going to need to be some money to renovate it one way or another, and so.
Yeah, ultimately, yeah, we can.
Keep some money aside, so we don't want to keep a building that's just in the middle of that park not being used.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a number of options on the table, and I think once we get a handle on what those are, I think we can continue those conversations and come up with the best plan.
Thank you, Chair. I know I've asked this question every time it comes up, but I just wanted a little follow-up or any progress. As a parent of athletes who sat on the sidelines of many a game, where are we with seating?
So, right, so the, actually, the concrete pad for one of the sets of bleachers on the south side of the property has been poured. That's closer to the bathroom building. And then we do now, the good news with this dirt pile favorability in the budget, we were kind of nervous that that was going to take a lot of our remaining contingency if that didn't go the way it ended up going. We have been holding kind of a placeholder number for some purchase of 4-row bleachers. The best viewing location due to the topography is along the north side of the property for portable bleachers, tip and roll bleachers.
Is that end zone or sideline?
So again, the field can be used east-west as well as north-south. So there would be end zone for the viewing of the permanently stitched-in football field. Otherwise, you have the sidewalk on both the east and west side where folks can put, camping chairs and other things for viewing from that side. But again, the project, and harkening back to when we first planned it, this turf field was really designed more as a practice facility than a full game facility like you might have at obviously at Cheshire High School. And that's sort of evident by the large side on it. When you're using the stitched turf field area, there's a large, side on either side of additional green space where the spectators can't be on the field.
Grass?
You can't put roll turf. It's all artificial turf, and so you can't put bleachers on the actual turf. So the viewing is really best, I think, from either the west side, from either chairs or potentially some bleachers, but a row of bleachers along the north side will probably be the best for parents viewing those practices and jamborees and whatnot.
But you are looking into the rolling bleachers? I mean,
Yep.
yeah, good, thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions regarding Bartlett South? Seeing none, we'll move to Mr. Rosenblatt for an update on our school project. Schools, plural project.
Yep, okay. Thank you. May it please the council. Greg Rosenblatt, 110 Bellamy Road. I'm vice chair of the Next Generation School Building Committee. And our chairman, Rich Gussenberg's just returned from a trip to Southeast Asia, so I'm filling in for him tonight. On May 24, we received approval from the state via owner's representative O&G Associates to place phase 1 of the construction project to bid. There are 3 components to this phase 1. For both schools, there's material procurement of switchgear, electrical distribution equipment, and generators. The equipment is to be furnished to the phase 2 electrical trade contractor in spring of 2025. For the new Norton School, there's site enabling work. And what this is going to involve in phase 1 is relocation of a portion of the existing school driveway to make room for a temporary play area. Installation of a 3-sided rigid frame culvert across the Sharon Drive access road, and construction of a temporary play area in front of the existing school. This is compensate for play areas that will be lost during phase 2 construction of the new school. All this phase 1 work is to be completed during the summer and fall of 2024. For the North End School, there's site enabling work, installation of temporary fencing and gates, site regrading to install settlement platforms. It's a very steep grade, so we have to make a flat platform, and apparently it takes close to several months for that to settle. So I want to do the work this summer to give it time to settle prior to actual construction beginning. And then also recording elevation readings of the settlement platforms until the anticipated settlement occurs and/or settlement readings have stabilized. This is also to be completed during the summer and fall of 2024. Then on May 30, potential bidders were invited to tour both sites. We had 11 attendees, 11 potential bidders came, and bids are due June 18th. Further to that, on the north end, soil management report, to complement the Phase 1 regrading, there were no issues that are going to affect the regrading. Also, Ecological Services completed the wetland survey of the land bordering 10 Mile River. Recall previously wood turtles, eastern box turtles, eastern ribbon snakes were observed. During the May walkthrough by REMA Ecological Services, they didn't identify, or they didn't see any reptiles or any snakes during that walkthrough. But because the habitat where these species are likely to be found, the architects are recommending a sandbar be installed, which would be 40 feet by 80 feet by 2 feet high. And lastly, a request for proposal for materials testing services was published. 4 bids were received. They're presently being reviewed by a working group, and the school building committee will make a selection at our next meeting, which is this Thursday, June 13. Okay, thank you.
Questions for Mr. Rosenblatt? Seeing none, thank you,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Much appreciated. Which brings us to our new business items, starting with item 8A, which is a call for a public hearing for the new ordinance for an administrative fee for the filing of delinquent business personal property taxes with the state. Ms. Allard.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 061124-2. Be it resolved that the Town Council will hold a public hearing at 7:00 p.m. on Tuesday, July 9th, 2024, in Council Chambers, Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider a new ordinance for the administrative fee for the filing of delinquent business personal property taxes with the state, and be it further resolved that the town manager shall cause a notice of said public hearings to be posted and published according to law, and be it further resolved that the date, time, and place of any further postponements thereof shall be determined by the town manager with the approval of the chairman of the council.
We have a motion. Thank you, Mr. Velaber, for the second. Call for a public hearing. I don't believe we'll have discussion, but I'll make a sweep. Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Ms. Ellard, we'll go right back to you for item 8B, which is the call for a public hearing for new ordinance. You're giving yourself a lot of work, you know. New ordinance for fee administration and releases for delinquent motor vehicle tax bills.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 061124-3. Be it resolved that the Town Council will hold a public hearing at 7:00 p.m. on Tuesday, July 9th, 2024, in Council Chambers, Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider a new ordinance for fee administration and releases for delinquent motor vehicle tax bills. And be it further resolved that the town manager shall cause a notice of said public hearings to be posted and published according to law. And be it further resolved that the date, time, and place or any further postponements thereof shall be determined by the town manager with the approval of the chairman of the council.
We have a motion. Thank you, Mr. Velaber, for the second. Again, don't believe there's any discussion. Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor, motion passes unanimously. Brings us to item C, the acceptance and appropriation of $26,197.34 from the National Opioid Settlement to the Human Services Special Revenue Account. Mr. Jinks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved, the Town Council approves resolution number 061124-4. Be it resolved, the Town Council hereby accepts and appropriates $26,197.34 from the National Opioid Settlement to the Human Services Special Revenue Account for the continuation of the opioid remediation plan as approved by the Town Council.
We have a motion. We'll give it to Mr. Walsh this time. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Jinks, would you care to discuss?
Sure. I mean, this is an ongoing, I guess sort of an ongoing the resolution of the settlement or resolution of this case is our second or third amount we've received this year, going toward a program the Human Services Department has devised as far as funding counselors and other kind of services surrounding opioids and drug use, and drug use prevention. So, well worth, or money that'll be put to good use of those programs from Human Services.
Questions regarding the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Brings us to item D, the approval of the amended Administrative Assistant 2 job description, and that is for Arts Place. Ms. Kramer.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 061124-5. Be it resolved that pursuant to the recommendation of the Personnel Committee, the Town Council hereby approves the amended Administrative 2 Arts Place TH-3 job description as presented and attached.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Motion and a second. Ms. Kramer for discussion.
The Arts Place expansion is requiring the need for more hours, and through discussion and agreement, they have decided to add this position to their role. If you look on the paperwork provided, anything in red is underscored for the new position, and it's about 35 hours per week, and it's a TH3 level employment.
Thank you, Ms. Kramer. Questions regarding the Administrative Assistant 2? Mr. Veliver.
Sorry, just a clarification. Is this a new position, or is this an expansion of an existing position from a part-time to a full-time?
This is a new position. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct. It was approved in the budget, but it is a new position, right? So new to next year. Well, we did reduce there were a number of part-time positions. We reduced some of the part-time positions, so there was an offset to the overall, but it is an expansion net of hours for coverage. Part of the reason Arts Place will be able to offer classes on Fridays now and some of the other components we discussed a little bit during the budget. Yep.
And I believe this is a union position, and there's some changes to job description to match the new position, all on the paper.
We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Item 8E is the approval of the wastewater treatment plant lead operator 3 job description. Back to you, Ms. Kramer.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 061124-6. Be it resolved that pursuant to the recommendation of the Personnel Committee, the Town Council hereby approves the wastewater treatment plant lead operator 3 PW-7 job description as presented and attached.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Ms. Kramer for discussion on this one.
So this position, when we discussed it, we are not, Sean will be able to describe it better. We're not taking on a new employee. We're not opening up a new position. We're changing the job description of somebody who's already employed.
Right, so this position is more akin to a crew leader type position. There's been, it's an important goal of our new wastewater treatment superintendent to have somebody while we have eliminated over time the assistant superintendent position over the last couple of years as we reimagined the leadership there, it is still important to have somebody directing the work, similar to either a crew leader type position that would be taking a crew to a pump station or out on a job, and that one person is sort of in charge. We talked about this a little bit during the budget process. This was proposed. It is an upgraded position, and yes, it is conceived that one of the existing operator 3s will become the lead operator in charge. That now is a PW7 position. It's similar to a very almost identical structure that we have in the highway garage division as a crew leader or a senior crew leader. So again, this one from a funding standpoint is approved in the budget, and it's recommended for adoption and has been run through the Public Works Union as well. So that's it.
Questions regarding the wastewater treatment plant lead operator 3? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Brings us to item 8F, approval of the reclassification of Union Administrative Assistant 2 position in the Building Department to Administrative Assistant 3. Back to you, Ms. Kramer.
Personnel Committee's been busy. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 061124-7. Be it resolved that pursuant to the recommendation of the Personnel Committee, the Town Council hereby approves the Building Department's Administrative Assistant 2 position reclassification to an Administrative Assistant 3, moving the position from TH3 to TH4, and approves the amended job description for said position. And the amended job description you can see on the pages that follow.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Ms. Kramer?
So this position has also already been negotiated between town management and the union, and the description has been changed basically to incorporate what this employee already does. So they've taken on a lot of extra responsibility, and this was, the title change from 2 to 3 encompasses more of what they're doing. It was necessary by the union and negotiated, worked on, and agreed to.
Questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Brings us to item 8G, the establishment of registrars of voters compensation for the January 2025 through December 2026 term. Back to you, Ms. Kramer.
Last but not least, be it resolved the Town Council approves Resolution 061124-8. Be it resolved that pursuant to the recommendation of the Personnel Committee, the Town Council approves a 3% salary increase for the registrars of voters for the period January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2025, for an annual compensation of $26,434.61 to be paid on a bi-weekly basis, and be it further resolved that the Town Council approves a 3% salary increase for the registrar of voters for the period of January 1, 2026 through December 31st, 2026 for an annual compensation of $27,227.65 to be paid on a bi-weekly basis.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Back to you, Ms. Kramer, for discussion.
So this position is integral to our elections. They work year-round. It's a termed elected position. It is paid. They work about 18 to 20 hours a week throughout the year, and their compensation, in order to get people to run and keep this position held, should be competitive. And this is basically a small increase in their salary.
Questions regarding pay for the registrars? Mr. Veliber.
Thank you. And raises a good point. Do we know, Sean, whether this is this in the ballpark of what you would expect a registrar in a town our size to be paying? I mean, do you know how they compare to other towns?
I don't have a survey in front of me now, but I believe it's a little bit on the lower side.
You have a survey to your left.
I have a survey to my left who is saying, again, worth noting, the expectations in every town may be a little bit different. The number of hours, namely, is probably the most significant factor. A position like this technically doesn't require, it requires the amount of hours to do the job, but there's nothing saying exactly this is a blank hours per week position. We've traditionally treated it that way from a budget standpoint, but it's an elected position. They can do the job or not do the job, but obviously our folks have done a great job for a number of years here. But again, without having all of the comparables at my fingertips, I'd be speculating a little bit, but our town attorney to my left feels it's certainly on the lower side.
Perfect, thank you.
I also wanted to add, just importantly, just the number increase, it's a $770 increase to our budget. And this election in particular, their role is going to be increased because of the early voting. So they're going to have a much greater load that time of year as in years past. So can keep that into consideration.
Mr. Walsh?
Yeah, and that was one question I did ask them, if, with the early voting, how it does change their job. And they said they still have to be here. They split their days. I think they both work on Fridays. One works Monday, Wednesday, the other one works Tuesday, Thursday, and they both work Friday. But I did ask specifically, is this going to, because of the early voting? And they said not dramatically. They just have to make sure there are people there, and they work with the town clerk's office. But as Mr. Kimball said, if they can get their work done in 3 hours in a week, that's all they have to put in. It's in a unique position because there's nobody overseeing them, and there's nobody telling them, hey, where are you? You're late. You know, it's a trusted position that and as Mr. Kimball said, we've been lucky. I mean, because you can get somebody in there who says, I'll take the money and come in 2 hours a week and do whatever little I have to do. But so I'm happy to say that we do have good people right now, and with the early voting, there will be some more pressure put on them. Not sure if it's going to add more hours to their schedule, but it will be something that they have to make sure they oversee to make sure that there's volunteers, and that's the hardest thing they said, is trying to find volunteers to work so if anybody's interested, you should contact the registrar's office if you're interested in volunteering, or is it volunteering, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a volunteer job to do your civic duty, so thank you.
Just a quick clarification.
There is a small, I can't remember the hourly stipend. It's hourly, and it's a very long day.
Yes.
But the poll workers do get paid. It's certainly not enough to, take a wonderful trip to Europe, but
Yeah.
they do get paid. However, if anyone is willing to volunteer, we are very happy to accept that as well.
Mr. Jenks, yes.
Thank you. We might have talked about this during budget, Sean. When's the last time this position had an increase? It was just a year ago?
It would have been 2 years ago.
It would have been 2 years ago that it was approved, but it was approved for 2 years, the same way that this one.
So in 2022, we would have approved 23, 24.
Okay, all right. And speaking of the long day, I remember the primary this year, voting in Highland. I think I voted at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. People have been there all day long, and I was number, I think, 98.
Yeah.
So it's a very long, boring day as well, but please do volunteer.
Some of them are, yes, yeah. Something tells me this November won't be boring for them.
True.
Any other questions? Call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Brings us to item 8H, the approval of the 2024 Neighborhood Assistance Act program submissions, which was the subject of this evening's earlier public hearing. Ms. Pearson.
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution Number 061124-9. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves the Hometown Foundation Incorporated submission for their Police K-9 project and the Ball and Socket Arts Incorporated submission for various energy conservation measures, including roof and attic installation, electrical installation, new LED lighting, HVAC expansion, and site lighting to the State of Connecticut 2024 Neighborhood Assistance Act program, as presented at a public hearing today on June 11th, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Velber. Discussion, Ms. Pearson?
As Mayor Talbot indicated, we heard a public hearing. There were no comments during that public hearing. This is a tax credit program available for tax-exempt municipal organizations. We thank Ball and Socket and K-9 for the work they're doing in our community, and we're happy to support this. Basically, our role is basically administrative and dictated by state statute.
Questions regarding Mr. Veliver?
Oh, thank you. I'd just like to say that I think this is a great opportunity for us to support both of these organizations. I think they both do a great job within the community, and I think it's very important for us to do whatever we can to try to help them, especially with their fundraising and the other opportunities that they have, because what they do brings so much back to the community. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Veliver. Without seeing any further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Item I, we are going to hold. It requires executive session, and we will come out of executive session at the end of our meeting and vote on that prior to adjournment. With that, I will turn it over to Mr. Kimball for the town manager report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. J has been
It has been removed.
First page again was the Bartlett South update, which I gave earlier, but staying in the same area. Please note, mark your calendars for the Bartlett Beats concert this year. We have them scheduled for Fridays, July 19th, July 26th, August 2nd, and August 9th. You'll see a list of the bands there. The rain dates for each of those shows, as is tradition, is the following Tuesday. All shows start at 7 o'clock p.m. Mixville parking passes are available. Please see the link below. Visit Cheshire MyRec or visit the Cheshire Recreation offices during regular business hours. Also a reminder that June is Dog License Month, and our application is linked there in the report for renewal for all dog licenses for town, beginning June 1st. The Cheshire Library's Summer Adventure 2024 will be having a kickoff event June 14th. This is the annual Summer Reading Challenge. There will be an event at Mixville Park, pack a picnic, grab your lawn chairs, and join us from 5 to 8 p.m. again on Friday, June 14th to kick off the 2024 Summer Adventure. Again, parking is free, but it is limited, so carpooling is encouraged. Always a popular event. Page 3, I have a few updates, status updates on Chesprocott. Regarding the lease, the proposed lease document incorporating council comments was presented to the Chesprocott board leadership several weeks ago. They will be discussing it with the full board in executive session in their meeting tomorrow evening. The board is still expressing interest in the property, although they've also looked at a few alternative locations, and they must vacate their current offices by July 26th. Renovations, Chesprocott is working with an architect to develop scaled down renovation plans for the former Arts Place building. The state has appropriated $350,000 to Cheshire for the health district, which the town can use towards the renovations. Chesprocott has indicated they plan to spend a portion of their own fund balance on this project as well. Once we have confirmation from Chesprocott that has committed to 1220 Waterbury Road, the town will negotiate a work letter for the project, and Attorney D'Onofrio has a draft prepared. Regarding the MOU, the Chesprocott board wishes to work through the current situation and hire a permanent director before considering execution of the town's proposed memorandum of understanding. However, they're also committed to implementing many of the requests in the MOU and plan to ensure open communication with member towns. And finally, the Director of Health. The Chesprocott board has updated the job description for the Director of Health and has hired a recruitment firm to handle the process. The position has been posted. The town's been assisting with publicity, and that posting closes June 21st. Another reminder, this June 13th, this Thursday, the Siting Council will be holding that virtual Zoom hearing regarding Cellco partnership. Verizon Wireless's plan to construct a 90-foot cell tower in the parking lot immediately behind Big Y. As I said last month, this site would address persistent cell coverage complaints in the south part of town and including throughout the Elam Park facility, and would also be able to host additional cell carriers as co-locators. Again, the hearing is June 13th via Zoom. It begins at 2 p.m., but the public comment session begins at 6:30 p.m. Arts Place has officially moved to its new home at Ball and Socket Arts. Thank you to Joanne, to Karen, Arnett, John Golick, Public Works staff, and the Town Council, many others, for their continued support to see this project through to a successful completion. It was an incredible early morning for some folks at 5 a.m. Who began the move process. They moved at lightning speed, and I couldn't believe the movers were already gone by 8:30 in the morning. But it was great. No impact to our new neighbor downstairs, Sweet Claude's. So all in all, the move went very, very well. They're still unpacking and settling in, of course. And we are planning a ribbon cutting, so stay tuned in the coming weeks once all the unpacking and settling in has been completed. Very tentatively, we are kicking around possibly right before the council meeting in July, because we know that works for everybody's schedules that will plan to be here in July. But again, that's very preliminary. We want to make sure they're all ready to go before we go into the building. So, and a reminder to check out our Projects Around Town page as linked below. And town facilities are closed on, that should say Wednesday. It says it in the body there, but Wednesday, June 19th, in observance of Juneteenth. Please note, while town offices are closed, the Cheshire Community Pool and various recreational sports clinics and lessons remain open as scheduled. And there is no delay in trash or recycling. And last, but certainly not least, with Andrew Martelli in the crowd, Business Appreciation Day is Friday, June 21st. This will be at Elam Park. Invitations have gone out to over 500 Cheshire businesses. I know the town council should have received their invitations in the mail as well. Doors open at 8:30 a.m. for registration. The program starts at 9 a.m. Friday, June 21st, featuring Anthony, the Chief Marketing Officer for the state of Connecticut. So hope everyone can attend for a wonderful free breakfast and a great way to support our incredible local business community. And finally, you'll see a number of upcoming council meetings and capital budget workshops and planning committee scheduled for this coming Monday, June 17th as well. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Questions for Mr. Kimball? Getting off easy, Mr. Kimball. Colleagues, in your packets are the department status reports from police, fire, and economic development. Brings us
Also an
to-
update, there's also an update in there in your packet behind the town manager report from our town clerk, who sent a nice update of everything that
Yes.
she's been working on. So new this month. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to mention that during correspondence, but that's a perfect time. That was very impressive, too. I encourage you to, I had the opportunity to go through it this afternoon, and a lot of great stuff going on down there, and we appreciate the update from Ms. King with that information. So thank you for bringing that up, Sean. Chairman's reports. I will start to my left, Ms. Kramer. I know that you've been busy because you had a lot of resolutions this evening.
Everything that was on our agenda, we voted on today. So you've got my full report in very detailed
With-
description.
In the form of voting.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Wolf.
Planning Committee has a meeting on the 17th to start the process of looking at requests for proposal for the North End property that the town owns, and we will have more information to follow.
Ms. Allard.
I'm learning that the ordinance review committee is a bit like doing the laundry. As soon as you think you're done, you turn around and there's more work to be done coming your way. So, but we just chug along and keep on keeping on. So, as you know, we've called for 2 public hearings, and also we're going to be we're continuing our work with the Veterans Memorial Committee and several other things on the list, and I anticipate more will come down the pike.
As a matter of fact, Ms. Allard, as soon as the chairman's reports are done, I have a referral for your committee, so stay tuned. Mr. Jinks.
Not really anything to add other than that we're in the middle of capital budget, as we all know, and we have a few more meetings, including one on Thursday night, which the public is welcome to attend, and that'll be on Public Works on Thursday, correct, Sean? Right.
And Ms. Pearson.
Sustainability Committee met on May 23rd. The Director of Finance, Vincent Messianis, and Erica Biaghetti, the Director of Nutrition for the school district, attended that meeting, provided snacks. We thank them.
Nice.
They reported back that the compost pilot program is going very well at Chapman, so well that the Sustainability Committee determined that we would like to expand these programs, or propose expanding these programs, and this school district is looking to expand these programs. The most viable first option might be Doolittle, But there is legislation coming down the way that schools of a certain size, and the elementaries may not qualify, but certainly the high school likely will in 2026. Composting will be mandated at many of our schools. So the good news here is that Cheshire is well ahead of the curve on this. We're already piloting programs. They're going very, very well. And so we actually asked them to also review potentially expanding to all our elementary schools. And would that be possible with our NEF funds at this moment? So that's something that they'll be coming back to us with a full analysis in the summer. We reviewed the native plant policy that was presented by the Environment Commission, and we referred that back to the Beautification Committee and the Environment Commission for review. And Dan Bombero of Department of Public Works indicated that the mattress and electronics recycling going on at the old transfer station has been very successful. So we'll be continuing that in our town budget. We did approve additional resources to keep that site open on Saturdays to expand opportunities for folks to recycle their mattresses and electronics in a different part of town. Individuals could always recycle at AJ, but they can now also recycle at the old transfer station. And we were talking a little bit about bringing in iRecycle or some other recycling outfit to provide opportunities for in-town redeeming of bottles and cans. So possibly the transfer station could be a site, but that's under discussion.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. And as promised, I have the referral of new Section 16-6, FOG management, FOG an acronym for fats, oil, and grease, some of our favorite items. The ordinance to the Ordinance Review Committee. So you will be getting FOG management coming your way.
No, now I'm hungry.
Yeah. No items under miscellaneous for 10B. Brings us to item number 11, appointments. Starting with liaison reports, and I will start again to my left, Ms. Kramer.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to bring up one thing having to do with disc golf. I said it right? Disc golf?
Yeah.
Over in Cheshire Park, Karen Schnitzer, who's the Chair of Environment, approves that this will not have any huge impact to the wildlife and the flora and fauna of Cheshire Park. They don't have to remove much of anything to have that go on, and it's actually an appreciation of nature.
Thank you. Mr. Wolf?
Nothing to report, sir.
Ms. Ellard? Now you are.
The Public Safety Commission will be meeting on Thursday of this week. With respect to Youth and Human Services, they attempted a meeting. They did not have enough voting members to have a quorum, but they did actually receive a presentation from somebody from Array RX from the state of Connecticut, basically informing us that in Connecticut, anybody is entitled to sign up for this discount prescription program. It would be used not in conjunction with an insurance policy, but in place of. So for those who are shopping around for cheaper, more cost-effective prescriptions, you can certainly go to ArrayRxCard.com and apply for it. It's a digital card that you can just kind of keep, and if you find that your insurance is not covering a prescription that you might need, or it's just too cost prohibitive, certainly have that on hand to compare costs and potentially save money, and that's available to all Connecticut residents.
Ms. Talbot, is that similar to the one that we have here in town? It is the...
Sounds similar, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jinks?
Sure. So regarding the Water Pollution Control Authority, they are eagerly awaiting our capital budget. We resolve our capital budget. There's a lot of items in there that they're interested in, obviously. They also wanted me to pass along the new pumps at Elmwood Station, or pretty sure it's Elmwood, have drastically reduced the electricity we've been using at that station, so that's a very good thing. I think they'll have some data on, hope to have some data on how much we're saving there in terms of electricity usage. Sean kind of covered the Chespercott update very well. Thank you very much for that, Sean. And that's all I have.
Ms. Pearson?
I know the chairman of the Energy Commission, Rich Ogurek, was touring the Southington quantum facility that provides composting for our elementary schools, and so I have yet to hear back how that all went. There were a number of folks from town who attended, and Parks and Rec. Because of the capital budget, I was unable to attend the full meeting, but many of the counselors on my right and left attended the dedication to Frank Lohman, who has contributed quite a bit to this town. Much of the signage you see down Route 10 and at Mixville is a result of work of his over the years. And so we were there for the dedication of the Frank Lohman Room at Mixville Park. And his wife Carol was there. His son Frank Lohman was there as well to recognize his memory and acknowledge his contributions over the years.
Mr. Walsh?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Beautification Committee met again, and as Ms. Pearson said, they did discuss the native plant policy with Karen Schnitzer and Joanne Giddings, who was there. And after somewhat of a lengthy discussion, they feel that they are doing enough to promote native species where appropriate. And instead of adopting a formal native plant species, they have decided, they voted 7-0, that the town will focus on educating the public and continuing the town's commitment through council actions and resolution to plant native plants where appropriate and remove invasive. Corner of King Road and Main Street, I think it's South Main Street intersection. They're going to talk with the landowner to redo that little landscape there to make it a little bit more decorative and a little bit easier to come out of King Road onto Route 10 so you can see. And there's a couple other things going to be doing. The Welcome to Cheshire hanging sign is rusting, and they're going to be repairing that as well. So they've been busy.
Mr. Velaber?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to mention the Library Advisory Board has been very busy as well. They've been updating some of their policies, and they plan to meet next week to adopt an update to the Code of Conduct policy and the library card policy as well. So they've been busy updating many of their policies and making some really good changes.
Mr. Milone?
Thanks, Peter. So the Building Commission has been working on the new prison cell project for the police station. That was something that was approved previously for design, not necessarily for construction because we weren't sure of the budget. It's significantly more expensive than people had anticipated, and they would like an opportunity to come in and make a presentation to the council as to what options they're looking at and where they're heading with this. Get some direction as to how to proceed. They put the design consultant on hold at the end of a specific design phase, waiting for some clarity on that. So I just thought I'd mention that maybe that could be something that could be brought up at the next meeting. So I think they'd like to come in. Maybe the police chief could come in with them as well. And I just would like to say, while I have the floor, one other thing regarding the disc golf, which I'm excited about as well. If it does fit within the budget and it moves forward, regardless of what Karen thinks, and I think her opinion is very valuable, I would hope that we would go through Mike's office and get a determination as to whether or not that requires a wetlands permit or doesn't require a wetlands permit. It is a public property, and I hate for us to go forward without the formal process that everyone else has to go through. So it may be small enough or passive enough that it doesn't require a permit, but I think that's a regulatory issue that I'd like to get clarification on if that goes forward. So
Yeah, I'm sure that Mr. Gawlak and Mr. Glidden will be working on that in combination. So, yeah, it's more than just a committee. So, yeah.
She's probably correct, but I just want to make sure we don't not cross that T.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Milone. With that, we'll move on to appointments. Mr. Velaber? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I have a follow-up, request for Councilwoman Pearson. If they do a tour outside of the 9 to 5 hours, could you let us know? Because I would love to see the compost facility, but I just can't do it during the day. I know that's complicated, and I know it's a
Yeah.
school.
I know it's very limited, but I'll reach out to Pam Roach, who helped to arrange the tour for us.
And not just for me, if anybody, outside of the 9 to 5 would be awesome.
Right, I know, I believe, Mayor Talbot, you joined on that tour, and
Yeah, I would
Wolf,
like a
was it worth it?
second opportunity.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Veliber, any appointments tonight for us?
Yes, I have two. First, the appointment of Louis Nero Sr. for a renomination for the Housing Authority, term of office from today until May 31st, 2029. Mr. Nero is a Republican. And David Borrowy which is a new appointment to fill the vacancy of William Stanley for the Economic Development Commission. That term would be from present to 1/31/2026. He is also a Republican.
That last name didn't sound at all familiar to me.
No, all, brand new guy, new to town, never lived here.
Mr. Wolf, would you be so kind? Thank you for the second. All those in favor of the two appointments? Motion passes unanimously.
Just hand these down.
Brings us to the town attorney's report. Mr. D'Onofrio, anything for right now?
Nothing for public session. We'll talk in executive session. Thank you.
Thank you. Council communications, as Mr. Kimball mentioned, the council did receive a letter from Ms. King regarding the town clerk's office and the exciting activities that are going on there. B, miscellaneous, nothing. And that brings us to executive session. We have contract negotiations, labor negotiations, pending litigation, and land acquisition. So I will accept a motion to go into executive session to include the town manager, town attorney, assistant town manager, town council clerk, Mr. Glidden, Mr. Jaskat, I don't think you'll pass. You'll respectfully pass. Mr. Martelli will be there. Chief Dreif will be there. And the labor attorney will be there, correct? I'm sorry.
Lou from Jeff's
Okay.
office.
All right. So with that, I will accept a second. All in favor? We are now in executive session. So what we will do, there is only one item that we will vote on when we come out. We are going to, Mr. Kelsey, we are going to do the first item here. If you would like to adjourn yourself down to room 207, because I understand you have a PowerPoint that you'd like to utilize. Is that correct?